So last year I talked about if you should buy records in 2024. Now, seeing as it is a new year, and that the previous video, honestly, you can attach it to any year and kind of look at the similarities, we're going to switch it up a bit and talk about CDs this time. Now, I'd say around the start of the 2000s to like 2010s is where you saw a lot of albums start to drop on CD mainly, whereas past decades had stuff different. Like the 90s, you still had your fair share of the three of CDs, cassettes, and vinyl, more leaning towards the CDs and cassettes versus the vinyl. But then the 80s, you had stuff like it was more heavy in the vinyl and cassette section as CDs were still new. But then the 70s was mainly vinyl and cassettes were new. So like every decade has its thing. But CDs started to become the ruling thing in 2000s, and I would say even up to the 2010s, it still had a strong will. I don't think it ever lost traction like cassettes kind of did, it seemed. Now, with the ever-rising cost of vinyl, and some people not wanting to jump to the cassette route, the question today is, should you buy CDs in 2025? Now, there are some pros and cons with CDs, as there is with anything. As there is with cassettes, 8-tracks, vinyl, the 78s, anything. There's pros and cons to everything, so that's kind of what I want to go over today, just a little quick video to give you an idea. I would say from personal experience, whether that be going to shows, whether that be ordering online, or like going to the record store and all that, CDs can be some of the cheapest pieces of music that you can get from an artist. Now, I am not saying it will always be the cheapest, but good 8 to 9 out of 10 times, yeah, you're looking at it's one of the more cheaper options. And it's like with the rising cost of records, with some albums dropping at about a $30 price range for a single LP, don't even get me started on record store day stuff, because I've spent well over $30 on a single LP album. Not to mention the double LPs or like triple ones, when you go that far, they get up there, it starts to go 40, 50, 60, 80, 100. And then on the cassette side of it, while they're more in the same kind of price range, sometimes a bit higher in prices, I would say around the $15 to $25 range for major releases, and I'm going to call it Twisted right now. The 25th anniversary of Twisted collection should not have had $22 cassettes. I don't care if they had a shiny cover. That's a bit much money. I'm gonna say that right now. Even the House of Crazies one, I think that was like a $20 pre-order almost. But yeah, while they are around almost the same price range, they are more of an oddity, I would see, versus a CD. Now, CDs, depending on the artist, can be around the $8 to $12 range at release, depending on what artist it is and if you're getting it online versus in store. Now, there are some that push a higher price online, which I will say stuff like MNE, I will say Twisted, MNE again, that's my experience. They jump to about a $14.99 range. I didn't mind it when it was like $11.99 to $12.99, but like you're paying online shipping stuff, that's what annoys me, because then most of the time you can go to a show, and I will say that they've kept their CDs at shows at a $10 basic for damn near everything, unless it is a show release or like a super limited thing. But normally $10 for a CD, that's not bad at all for a new release. Now, there are some artists, depending on their, I don't want to say greed, because greed sounds bad, but like when they're more of like trying to get the most money out of an item, or just stupidity, I will say that. Because some people, and I'm going to call it Ouija Mac again, because you know what? After the Gathering ticket video, I'm just going to ride this train till it explodes. Chapter 17 Ouija Mac, CDs pushing $20 online or offline for a card sleeve CD. That's kind of fucked. And it's like, I've been to his shows, I've been to the Gathering where he's selling those in person. You couldn't drop it to $10, and you couldn't have at least made it a jewel case CD. I'm paying $20 plus, depending on shipping, for a CD and a card sleeve. That's kind of messed up. But we're going to get off the specific artist, because I can do a whole tangent about that. But that's kind of what it is. Some artists online do them a bit higher, but mostly you're going to find them at 8 to 12 range. Now, out of any of the pieces of media that I've talked about prior, I think the best to find used is CDs. Now, like cassettes or vinyl, some specific CDs can reach big bucks. I have sold my fair share of like rare CDs, imports, stuff like that, for around $40 to $80 periodically. I'm not going to say that there aren't big home runs like there are with other pieces of media, but for the most part, when they get older, when they get more to 10 to 20 years old, you can find great albums for about an average of $5 a piece. Even better, some stores don't even want the CDs, and you can find them for like as little as 50 cents. And I have found some amazing albums from artists, ones that come to my head. Missy Elliott, I found a lot of her early discography through dollar bins and all that stuff. Pink Floyd, Metallica, even some ICP CDs in my collection came from thrift stores and used music stores. Now, for the most part, these used ones, they're rarely ever messed up so much. Like cassettes, you have to worry about the tape that can get pulled, wound wrong, all that stuff. And then records, obviously it's a more flimsy plastic. They can break, they can get warped, they can get scratched super easy. But CDs I've found, for the most part, are super durable. And to show you, I'm going to put up right here 2 CDs. One of them is going to be one that I've personally owned since it released in, I'll go between 2015 to 2017, because that's around when I started collecting. So I'll pull one from that period, and then I'll pull a used one that I got from the 90s. And I'll put them side by side and I'll label them, so that way you can see how well they can withstand the test of time if you take care of them properly. Because I will say, there are some that I've seen that are scary. And also, CDs do have another step up on vinyl, which is the amount of music they can hold. Now, a normal CD can hold up to about 74 minutes of music, or it's about an hour plus, when most vinyl can hold about 20 to 25 minutes, depending on the speed you put it on at, and all that stuff. There's more technicalities of that, but 20 to 25, that's pretty much what they can hold per side. Now, cassettes, you can find some that do 60 minutes per side, but those are mainly like the mixtapes and all that stuff. I've rarely seen a lot of cassettes that really push like the 40 to 50 minute per side. There are probably some out there, but I've just never seen them. Also, for some people that like to play CDs in the car but don't have a lot of room, there are CD wallets. You've probably seen them. Obviously, if you grew up in the early 2000s having them, you know of them, but it's basically like a little booklet, and you just pop the discs in there. I think that's a cool thing. Do I do that myself? Absolutely not. I am too much of like a collector preserver at this point that it's like, I don't want to say it scares me, but like, no, they have to be within the same room as each other. Like, I'm very picky about my stuff, I will say. And the downside to the CD wallets, which is more of a downside for me, people sometimes are irresponsible and don't put them back in the cases. Or, I've heard that some people literally take the disc, maybe they'll take the artwork out of the front, and they'll just throw away the whole case. And I'm like, that hurts my soul. But some people do that. I don't know why, but they do. Another cool bonus is that people can burn the CDs. And when I mean burn, I do not mean fire. I mean they can like rip them onto PC or even some consoles. Like, people burn the audio onto the PCs, so that way they can put them on their phones, or if they're from back then, MP3 players. I have 2 of these. I'm trying to load them up with some oddball songs that aren't on streaming. I've actually burnt a lot of music onto my Xbox 360, and I'll be there chilling, listening to that crazy music while playing Minecraft Xbox 360 Edition. Now we'll talk about the downsides, because obviously everything has downsides. And I'm coming from a place of not only a reseller, but like a very avid collector. Like, I don't want to say I'm a veteran collector, but I've got 10 years collecting, like, seriously. So I've learned my fair share of stuff. On the one end, you find CDs that are cheap, but it comes at a price. Damaged cases. And these can be annoying, from honestly big cracks in the cases to disc trays missing teeth, causing the disc to slide around and not stay in place, and even hinges being so brittle and snapping. Little tooth just came out of this. So if I were to try to put a disc in here, it could pop out and start rolling around. This is just from a CD case I had to change, same as this one. This one has a broken hinge, and obviously scuffing or whatever, but broken hinge down here, you see just very little as compared to this one. But then this is a junk case. I'll show you how brittle it can be. This is the strength one. This isn't the brittle one, as this one is. That's the brittle one. I'm putting barely any force on this, so I will do it like this so you can see. Like, it's less friction than like flicking a lighter. I'll do it with my pinky finger. Like, very brittle plastic, especially when you get the ones that are older than 10 years. And replacing those cases can be so annoying. So thank you everyone for tuning in. What are your thoughts about CDs? Do you have a favorite one? Do you have anything, pros or cons, that I missed in this section that I didn't cover? If you want me to talk about any other piece of media, and should you buy it, please let me know as well. I would love to know more. And obviously I'm always doing my research. I'd like to do more stuff. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.